My name is Sam, and I am taking advantage of my daughter's nap time right now. So thanks for joining me. I have been in the house for over a week now. We are getting over the flu, so I sound a little gross. I'm sorry. Going crazy. Like, I'm an introvert. I enjoy staying in the house typically. It's a great time to recharge and all that. But when you know, like, you can't leave and there's things you'd like to do, and like, I still just don't have the stamina to like get things done. So I'm losing it. The dogs, just everything. Help me, help me. I want to tell you a little story. Story time. So I am hard of hearing or hearing impaired. Wow. I have hearing aids in both ears. Now, this is something, if you know me, you probably know this. It's not a secret. I've always been public and open about it, and I've tried to become even more open about it because I feel like it's something that gets overlooked a lot in our world. I was born with a cleft palate, so I had the hole in the roof of my mouth, not a cleft lip, so nothing external, just the roof of my mouth. It was found at birth, so I had surgeries. I was put in speech therapy at a young age. I had tubes in my ears to help with ear infections and things like that. Like, all of that I was always well taken care of. I had great, medical team, and I would see the doctor annually, things like that. I got hearing aids for the first time in 3rd grade. I didn't necessarily need them. I think in my left ear, they determined that I should have it and I should wear it all the time. My mom and dad made the decision to get them in both ears just as like a precautionary. They wanted to make sure I was doing great. And now that I'm a parent, I get it. Like, you want to make sure your kid is thriving. So I wore them most of 3rd grade, definitely played with them a little bit. Thanks to my undiagnosed ADD, I was just, they whistled if you took them out of your ears, and like, I would just fidget, and no one was gonna yell at me for it. So I wore them, but not like dedicated, because again, like, I didn't feel like I needed them. They were the internal ones, so they sat right in my ear. They were like the nude. So like, I always pictured like they looked like a grandpa hearing aid, but my mom didn't want over the ear. Well, she was like worried kids would make fun of me or I'd have a hard time. I wore them on and off through like junior high, probably. I knew like occasionally they'd come in to check my hearing, and if I didn't have them, I always felt like I was gonna get in trouble. So I'd be like, oh yeah, the batteries were dead, so I left them at home today, every day for like 2 years. Made it through high school without any hearing aids, through college, and entered the like adult workforce, and again, all without hearing aids. Most of my jobs in high school, college, and my adult life all involved customer service to some degree. I've always worked with people or in front of people. I've done retail and food and management. I've worked in hospitals, and I got by pretty well. A big part of it is I just knew what I needed. I made sure I was looking at people face to face. I read lips, which, bonus points, if you're reading someone's lips, it looks like you're just making lots of eye contact, you're nodding along. So like, interviews I always nailed because I just looked super interested and like intent. And in school or anything like that, in lectures, I would always sit up front in the front row. This is post high school. And just did those things to try to help myself fill in any gaps that I might be missing. Movies were like, at home, I would enjoy closed captioning just to kind of help, but I went to theaters with no issue at that point. Around 26, 27 years old, my husband, but then fiance, we were canoeing up north, and everyone jumped off a bridge, so I did. No, but seriously, there's a little bridge that we would occasionally jump off of into the water. Wasn't super high. I've actually jumped off of cliffs that were higher on other trips, so I didn't think too much of it. But this was a 4th of July weekend, so it was very busy. And lots of people were joking, and like, you could go under the bridge as well. This is like, people would canoe. So a few times I remember as we were walking up, people would joke and be like, oh, don't go yet, there's someone coming. And as we were jumping, I think someone said that. So I kind of like tensed up differently and was already a little awkward. So when I hit the water, I hit the side of my head on my good ear, and it kind of popped, like all of the pressure of me smacking the water. And it hurt so much. Like I was just miserable. And I cried. And then of course I just felt like garbage the whole like canoeing trip back. And then I remember everyone was like watching movies at the cabin, and I just was like lay in bed. And then I finally got up and tried to participate, and I couldn't like hear anything on TV. And I was like, you know what? It just happened. Like, just rest. You'll be fine. It'll be okay. Well, it wasn't. I remember for a solid month, I couldn't hear anything. And keep in mind, my left ear, the hearing was already bad enough where I could never talk on a phone. Like if I held a phone up to my left side, I heard nothing. So I was at a very big disadvantage at this point. I had already started my real estate career at this point, so I had no health insurance. Like I said, my husband and I weren't married yet, so I wasn't on his plan. I had just started that February in real estate, so I was self-employed for the first time ever. And I thought, you know what? I'm young and healthy. I'm fine. We're getting married in August. It'll be okay. Well, until you can't hear out of either ear and you work with people for a living. It slowly got better. Like there wasn't like the normal, like it just popped back and it was fine, because I did try that. But I was holding open houses. I was working with clients, was doing all of that. And even when it got better, it was still really hard to hear. After we had gotten married in August, that whole winter, I just felt myself kind of become a little bit more of a recluse. Like it was a little overwhelming for me to go to large events if my husband wasn't there, because I started relying on him a ton. Basically, the way it would work would, someone would talk with me and I would just look at him and then he would tell me. It was like he was my interpreter or my hearing, like, husband. I don't know what you would call him at that point, but he was like my assistant and saved me in so many situations. And typically we could do like double dates, or if it was like just a one-on-one get together, because then I could sit closer. I didn't have all the extra noise, and then one person was talking to me. We had a few friends that I would always get extra anxious around because they talk quieter. So I remember a few like dinner parties and stuff, we'd like go to their house, and the way their living room was set up, we were a little further apart. So they'd be like, oh, like blah, 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 how's work? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, work is great. And they're like, oh, I was asking about your dog. Like, well, I look stupid. And I mean, people get it. Like I would always say like, oh, sorry, I can't hear. I don't hear well. But so often no one really understands what that means. You know, if you hear fine or pretty well, like you don't really get what the other people or what the other person is missing out on. And so that's typically what happens. I tell someone I'm hard of hearing, they're like, oh, okay. They'll repeat it once or twice, but like if someone's naturally quiet, like it's just gonna keep happening. So after months of me working and doing well at my job, but like just feeling miserable and anxious all the time, told my husband, I was like, I have to do something. I need to, you know, go get hearing aids again, or I need to see if that's an option. So I find a new doctor, they do my hearing test, and the audiologist there was like, wow, you have moderate to severe hearing loss. Like, you're working with the public? How? You know, like they were super shocked. They, which of course I was like, you know, you do what you gotta do. Like it's survival mode at this point. I'm never gonna like just walk away or quit working. That's just not in my DNA. So I wait for the doctor. He talks to me. He throws out the idea of telling me like, no hearing aids, like you need surgery. I'm like, what? Like surgery is an option? What does that mean? I had no idea what type of surgery. Like this was a curveball. And even leaving that meeting, I was still confused, but I was still like, you know what? I know more about hearing aids. Like, how can this not be an option? So I found a different audiologist, talked with her. She's like, surgery might work, like we can talk about that, but usually they say hearing aids first and then surgery, if the hearing aids aren't sufficing. So I was like, cool, what do we got to do? Well, my insurance, which is pretty good, like I'm very happy with our insurance, except that it does not cover hearing aids at all. And my journey of like looking it up to see what's covered and things like that, it really upset me because the way it was written on the policy or online for what's covered and what's not makes hearing aids look or made me feel like they were treated as like an accessory, not like an unrequired thing for people to function. And I don't understand that. I don't understand why they're not covered by, some insurances do, but like why they weren't covered with ours when other things that might not necessarily be a need, you know, can be covered. I was just like, what the heck? So I was a little defeated, but obviously was still going to figure out what I needed to do or what I could do. Talking with the audiologist, she explained that we actually have a program in Michigan for people with disabilities, and I might be approved where they would actually help pay for, the way it works out is they basically cover up to one hearing aid. So I did all of the paperwork, I did, you know, all the process, and it was a little different for me because sometimes this main program is actually intended to help people that have disabilities find work and gives them the tools to work. I already had the job. I just needed help with getting the tools to help me do my job and keep doing it. So some of their questions and things like that were redundant because it wasn't like they needed to help me find work. I didn't have to do all of that counseling. It was more so of making sure I was still working, and that, you know, they, after looking at everything, they were like, well, we know what we need to do is give you hearing aids. So I did that. I ended up getting ones that were considered like the top of the line at the time. Sorry, checking on my daughter. Because I was younger, or I am younger. I work with public, I'm on the phone all the time, all of those things. So out of pocket for one hearing aid, I still had to pay $3,500, so $3,500. And that was definitely hard, not something like you just have laying around. Now, keep in mind the warranty for these hearing aids is 3 years. My audiologist said some people can make them last about 5 years, just given with maintenance and getting them serviced and things like that. And she said, basically start saving for your next round around that 3-year mark because you're gonna need to replace them, which really sucks. I mean, I can't imagine living life without them now, so I'll definitely be saving and like do what I have to. But like 3 years for $6,000, like that's a lot. And I will say there are cheaper ones, and if I had to, or if that program isn't around, or if I don't qualify next time, I'll probably end up considering a cheaper option. But even with the best that I have now, when I'm in a large setting or like an office party or a conference, all of that extra noise still makes it super hard for me to hear. And like mine specifically still they help drown some of that out and focus on the person I'm talking to. But even Christmas, we have like 25 people for our family Christmas party. And even then, just a loud setting with loud people, I'm struggling to have a conversation, or if someone jumps in and says something to me, I don't know what's going on. So thinking about downgrading freaks me out a little, but we'll do what we have to do when the time comes. So it's hard being hearing impaired. I would say I adjust pretty well. Like I mentioned, reading lips helps a ton. Knowing that I have to look at someone face to face, like if they're turned, things like that, it's hard. Certain tones I still don't pick up. So the really hard part is it's just some voices. So every once in a while I just meet a person and their voice range just does not register for me. So every conversation, no matter how close they are to me, it's like I'm just staring at someone and they're mouthing words. I did just mention this to my audiologist, so we are going to test my hearing coming up this winter, and she's going to do it a little differently to see if she can help fix that. So fingers crossed. But overall, like, I manage. I think one of the greatest frustrations for me, and maybe others that are hard of hearing, is when you tell someone that you're hearing impaired or hard of hearing, and they say, oh yeah, no, me too. Now, I know people like deaf and all of the, you know, hearing impaired people, like that is a greater population than say someone that is blind or things like that. But you have no idea how often people say that. And it's like, no, I don't think you are. Like, everyone occasionally doesn't hear something, right? Like, oh, what? Sorry. That doesn't mean you're hearing impaired. Until you are in a room freaking out because you don't know what the hell's going on and who's talking to who, you're not like, sorry, like, it's just not the same. It's not cute, so stop doing it. The second would be when you tell someone you're hard of hearing and they say, what? What? And they think that's funny, you know, because it's like the dad joke. It gets used so often, like, it's not funny. I've actually ended up like tearing up once because a close friend of mine has done it for years, where it was like someone that you like give the pass. And it just struck a chord because it was like right around the time I got the hearing aids, and like, I think we were out drinking and he said it and I was just over it. And I'm pretty sure his like then fiance like just made him feel like the biggest jerk too, because like, I think everyone felt the mood change. So generally, like, I can laugh at myself, but because I've gone so long without hearing aids where I was like in the middle of it, and my sweet husband, who has always been awesome and supportive, and thank God he has a deep, loud voice, would always just be like, well, Sam, like, maybe you should just tell people you're hard of hearing. And I'm like, oh, sweetie, that's the first thing I do in almost all of my like transactions with people. You know, I make sure to announce that. I know how frustrating it is for people to have to repeat themselves, or if I look like just some bubblegum idiot who is just like, what? Like, you know, I want people to understand that like, it's me not hearing them and I'm just not paying it, you know, like I'm not paying attention to them, or I just don't get it. So I make sure I do. Like, I think at some point thought I just didn't tell people. I'm like, oh no, if I could wear a shirt every day, I would. And then I think the third like thing that like I hate is my neighbors don't necessarily know. We kind of move a lot. So as I meet them, I might tell them, but I've had some, like in our previous house, we had some of the best neighbors. The worst part though is directly next door, they would pull in their driveway and they would be in their car and they're like, oh, hey, blah, 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 like talking in the car. And I'm like, I'm on my porch. I don't know what you're saying. Like, I don't. And so either I would just walk to their car and be like, oh, hey. And then they would have to now fake a conversation because they were just saying something super simple. Or I would just kind of awkwardly say something and then walk in the house. I'm like, oh my God, they probably just think I'm so stuck up, right? Like, who is this girl? I just asked her how her day was and she says something like, oh, hello, and then carries on. And then there's people that just, I don't even know they're talking to me and I'm just walking around looking oblivious. So I always worry that neighbors or people in the outside world sometimes think that I'm just rude because I'm not hearing them. Now, mind you, this isn't like some impending worry where I'm constantly worried about what other people think of me. It's just that momentary, like, flustered or a little anxiety, because I'm like, I don't want people to think that I'm, you know, rude or that I'm an ass or anything like that. So like, it's always like a little cringe. Again, maybe I'll just get shirts. I think there was a guy on Facebook that had some sort of shirt everywhere. So it's like deaf, can't hear. Like, I think we should market that to anyone in the hearing impaired community. And like, let's just all rock it, because it would probably cut out a huge slice of time and just like get to it. It's like, no, it's not a joke. I really can't hear anything that you're saying. Speak up, enunciate your words. When I was pregnant, I said I was going to make sure my daughter just knew enunciation is important. I'm not worried about her being quiet and indoor voice. Make sure everyone that you're speaking to knows what you're saying. Mouth your words, take your time. Like, being understood by more than one type of person is very important, because a hearing person, you can have a great conversation and that's fine, but you probably encounter more people that are hard of hearing that are struggling than you realize. And it sucks for us. Like, I knew when my grandma was still alive and her hearing was bad, I felt awful. I was like, we have to get her hearing aids. I know that look in her face. It's not that like, oh, she's, you know, like getting older. It's she can't hear you. So she's sitting in a group of all her grandchildren and she wants to catch up. She doesn't know what is being said to her. She's lost. I've been that lost person. It's not a fun place to be. So let's get, you know, let's fix it. So if you ever notice those lost look, like maybe repeat what you said. Don't get frustrated if someone has to repeat things. As long as they're not like on their phone and totally ignoring you, like repeat it. Like it drives someone crazy when you're like, oh, never mind. My entire life I've been filled with rage when someone never minds me. Okay, I think that's it. I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I'm in hard of hearing groups on Facebook, and it's always interesting to see where someone's at in their journey, and I wanted to share mine with the world. If you have questions, comment below and I'll see if I can answer them. But I should probably go before my daughter wakes up and freaks out. Have a great day, guys. Bye.